Listen to this. A loophole in the tax code is allowing illegal immigrants to get money back for their children who don't even live in this country. And it's costing taxpayers $4.2 billion a year.
Yeah, joining us now with the outrageous details is Michelle Fields, who's a journalist from the Daily Caller. Michelle, nice to see you this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
So as I understand it, this started with a bit of a whistleblower, right, who was looking at all these different tax records, going through them and saying, wait a second, this is unbelievable. There's got to be a multi-billion-dollar fraud scheme happening here. What happened?
Yeah, well, so illegal immigrants are taking advantage of a tax loophole called the Additional Child Tax Credit, which gives $1,000 per child to working-class families. Well, illegal immigrants are doing this and claiming both children in the United States and children in Mexico, with some people claiming up to 12 children who have never, ever stepped foot in the United States.
But Michelle, explain to us how illegal immigrants are getting tax refunds anyway. Are they using Social Security numbers? What address?
They're using identification numbers. They're using identification numbers, in which what makes this even more frustrating is that the Department of Treasury's Inspector General says that the IRS has known about this abuse for years, and they know that this is costing $4.2 billion for taxpayers. They've done nothing to try to remedy the situation.
And additionally, here are some claims. I'll put up some information here. Some for additional child tax credits have, by these filers, have gone from $161 million in 2001 to $4.2 billion in the tax year 2010. So when this tax preparer says this is a multi-billion-dollar fraud scheme, he's right.
Yeah, and one of the people who was interviewed, he admitted that his address is actually being used by 4 other people who don't live with him. And they've claimed 20 children. They got $29,000 from the government. And just to clarify, only 1 child actually lives in the house. The 20 other children live in Mexico and have never even been to the United States before. Now, so this is just complete fraud.
Absolutely. Now, on the flip side of this, some would say that illegal immigrants are paying, according to Social Security records, $73 billion in taxes. They are paying into the system. And of course, that's the country's dirty little secret, that the U.S. likes to take these taxes. But some critics would say that they get obviously nothing in return. Is that just the cost of doing business, the cost of admission for being here illegally, that, you know, the U.S. gets to keep that $73 billion?
Yeah, well, you know, the additional child tax credit is essentially welfare built into the tax code. And these people aren't just claiming their sons and daughters. What they're doing is they're claiming nieces and nephews, and this money is going to people who have never even been in the United States. It's completely ridiculous.
I mean, where's the check on this? I mean, we talk about it being fraud, but you'd say to yourself, okay, so I'm putting down my niece on this form. Presumably you have to put down a Social Security number of that niece. Is not anyone checking this?
No, and exactly how does one verify that these nieces and nephews in Mexico actually exist? There's no one. This is complete incompetence, and it's fraud.
So what's the answer? Who's going to get to the bottom of this?
Well, I think we ought to, you know, look into the additional child tax credit and start closing these loopholes and take away this additional child tax credit.
I mean, even if it's somebody who is doing this legally, I mean, do you think that that's a fair assessment of this?
I think as long as it's legal and as long as people in the IRS are checking to make sure that, you know, these people actually exist and these people need the income, then I understand. But not if we're just shipping all this money to Mexico to people who may not even exist.
Michelle Fields, you're from the Daily Caller. Thanks so much for explaining this to us.
Thank you.
We want to hear